Good evening, everybody. Happy Thursday from the Treasure Coast. It was another beautiful day, 85 degrees. And I'm here with two of my great colleagues, Will Shue from Evolution Mortgage and Katie Urban from Link Real Estate. I'm Jonathan Casteleyn, and we're coming to you live here from the Liberty Title Good Vibes studio here in beautiful Port St. Lucie. We're here to outline and present the Relo Downlow, which we hope is a very informative and helpful understanding of the closing process if you're considering moving to the great state of Florida here. I wanted to start the presentation basically with a video from the city of Port St. Lucie and a great visualization of how and why we live here in the beautiful Treasure Coast. Beautiful video. I got goosebumps. How about you guys?
Loved it.
That was good.
It's a great area. So we're going to start in reverse order here. The title company is the last part of the closing process. Will and the lender part is the middle part of the process. But I wanted to introduce Katie Urban and the beginning part of the process and why finding a great realtor is tantamount to what we're doing here.
So thank you, Jonathan. So I am the top piece of bread for this little real estate sandwich here. So as Jonathan just kindly introduced me, my name is Katie Urban. I'm a broker associate with Link Real Estate here in Port St. Lucie, Florida, which is on the beautiful Treasure Coast. And I am actually from here. I'm a very rare breed, but I am native. Not a transplant. Yeah. I'm from here, like 4th or 5th generation St. Lucian. Like,
who better than you to understand the real estate market?
Absolutely.
I thought so too. And I thought this was the perfect opportunity for me to express how amazing the Treasure Coast is. Yeah. So let's get into where is the Treasure Coast? Because a lot of people don't know. So Treasure Coast is on the east coast of Florida, right along the coast. We got that beautiful beach coastline. Did you guys actually know why it's called the Treasure Coast?
No.
So 1700s, don't quote me exactly, 1600s, but we had a lot of the ships carrying Spanish galleons and treasure. And of course, you know, they sunk. Where does the treasure go? Goes to the bottom of the ocean right along our coastline. So it's very possible if you're spending a day out on the beach and you got your metal detector, you're swimming around, you can find a gold coin or two, maybe a
that would be amazing. I go with my children to the beach. We also find shark's teeth.
And that's why I don't go to the beach.
Yeah. Fair enough.
That's why I stay and I enjoy a nice poolside day.
You're a risk manager. I got it.
Yeah. I like to keep my limbs intact. But speaking of enjoying the Florida weather on the beach, on the pool, whatever you're doing, you could pretty much do that year round. Because our average temperature is about, give me a number. What do you think? Average temp?
I'm going to bet 70.
Yeah?
65.
Okay. All right. So Will would win, closest without going over, right? If we were on whatever that game show is.
Jeopardy?
Not Jeopardy. No. What's the one with Plinko?
Price
Drew Carey. Right. Thank you. Price is Right. Bob Barker.
Sorry, I'm showing
Spay
my
neuter
age.
your pets.
Guy gets it.
But yeah, so we're actually 73 average temp. We have been experiencing some cold fronts lately, but on average, we're sitting at about 73.
Nice.
So if you're dialing in from the fridges northeast, we're happy that you're here. Hopefully our sunny and radiance is coming through in the webcast, but 73 degrees is a wonderful temperature.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Bring your flip-flops and your Mets t-shirts because you can wear them here. Yeah. So some other nice things about the Treasure Coast that people are definitely interested in. So we actually now have our own international airport. American Airlines.
Yeah.
JetBlue.
Yep.
I think we have direct flights now to like Boston, New York, right there from Vero Beach, which how far would you say that is?
30 minutes north, 25 miles north.
Yeah, it's Miami traffic. Yeah.
Right.
Very close. So we have our own airport here. And we're kind of right in the middle of Orlando and West Palm. So we're not Central Florida. We're kind of south-ish Florida.
Right.
But yeah, we're kind of a nice
PBL,
balance of
definitely an
everything.
international airport, 45 minutes south of here. And Orlando is what, an hour and a half north.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way
Yeah.
to Disney.
Disney. Yes.
Those little things called
Yeah,
Disney.
because Florida equals Disney.
Yeah. I love, this is my favorite chart you have in this deck, hopefully, which is up on the screen here. We're on page 2 of the deck.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting chart to look at, and this is our sort of median home price by county. So we're right there along that coast in that, not darkest blue, but a nice dark blue color, where we're actually below the median price in the United States, which sits at 420, and we're actually like 4 and under on the Treasure Coast. So what is that, 10.5%? Below the national median household purchase price. I mean,
Still a good time to buy down here in Florida.
still definitely what most people would consider affordable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Excellent.
So yeah, the next page, lots of numbers for our number folks, if you're more of an analytical number person, but it does give you an interesting snapshot of the difference between the 3 different counties we have here on the Treasure Coast, which we are going to get into more of the vibe of those counties. But obviously you can see right off the bat, St. Lucie County is a much bigger county, much bigger area, much bigger population. That is our growth engine. Our population has soared compared to Indian River and Martin, where, growth's a little bit slower.
Almost 400,000, basically double Martin County and River County.
Yeah, mostly double. So, and I mean, it's a huge county.
Right.
And then, looking at our age demographics, St. Lucie is also the youngest with a median age of 45, very family friendly, where, Indian River and Martin is better for the older crowd. But obviously still very affordable. If you look at the median home price today from our previous map, which was 2024, these are, kind of our updated figures, between 400,000 and 500,000. And average household income is also pretty steady between 71 and 80,000 spread across all 3 counties.
One thing that you did mention, Katie, about family friendly, what I noticed after moving here, because I've got a toddler, is I lived in Savannah for about 5.5 years, but after I moved here, I noticed there were a lot of very kid friendly parks, and we're not talking about 5-year-old mulch with rusted swings, like Pioneer Park, for example, is absolutely amazing. Water park included. And that's just one, right, of the many family-friendly parks that are just great to have kids for. So, yeah, definitely family-friendly if you have kids.
Yeah. And did you guys catch that inflatable?
Oh, yeah, like world's biggest inflatable park.
Not.
Yeah.
It's on US.
Tell us more.
Yeah, in Port St. Lucie, at the Mid-Florida Event Center that we have.
Yep.
Right now, they have the world's largest inflatable park.
Yeah.
So you just go and you get to play on a bunch of inflatables, kids or adults.
Yeah, if you drive on US 1, you can't miss it. There's a
giant duck.
There's a duck the size of this building, probably bigger.
Yeah.
Honestly, you can't miss it.
Yeah.
Well, I always think about when you buy real estate, you got to think about like macro catalysts that are occurring in the area to really catalyze higher values. So we talked about Vero, another international airport. There's obviously a high-speed train called the Bright Line now in Florida. I think there's 2 stops now scheduled for the Treasure Coast, Stuart and
possibly Fort Pierce.
possibly Fort Pierce.
That's still up
Those
here.
That would be a massive catalyst for home values around here.
Yeah.
There's a new surf park going in Fort Pierce.
Koa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Koa
10,
Surf
11,
Park.
12 acres.
Yeah.
Per ship park. There's a lot of development that's still sort of pre-construction. So we think about in 2, 3, 4 years from now, I think values definitely be higher.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I would agree based on some of the growth plans that seem to be going on and the amenities that they're bringing to the area for sure.
Yeah.
So I love this slide here on slide 4, the vibe, which is important. Like, where does everyone fit in? So you have 3 different stanzas for people.
Yeah. So, a lot of people, when they're looking at the Treasure Coast, you kind of might make an assumption because of how close everything is that it's very similar, and that's not the case. So our Indian River County, which is, furthest north, we've got Vero Beach, we've got Sebastian. That's our kind of coastal, chic, beachy vibe, I would say. It does have the lowest median price point. It also is an older community, so a little bit slower, but very like coastal beachy town.
Right.
Then we have St. Lucie County, which we kind of mentioned before, is sort of the growth engine, right? Very family friendly. It's the youngest of all 3 counties, and that's Port St. Lucie and Fort Pierce. Lot going on in Port St. Lucie. Yeah, a lot of development, a lot of growth. More, I would call it metropolitan to describe St. Lucie compared to other places on the Treasure Coast. And then finally, Martin County. So that's Stuart, that's Palm City, that's Jensen Beach. And that is really sort of that old Florida luxury. A lot of waterfront property. So if you like boating, I would check out Martin County. Sailfish capital of the world is Sewell's Point. And there's some money there too. So yeah, definitely just kind of figure out what your niche is. And we've got something for you on the Treasure Coast for sure.
Very helpful. And then we're going to move to the state of the market on slide 5 here.
Yeah, so looking at the market in 2026, I'm actually very encouraged, especially having worked through the COVID market. That I'm sure Will can attest to that, and you as well on the title side. Like that was crazy. But we're in a much more balanced market now for both buyers and sellers. There's more inventory, which is great for buyers. And I think interest rates are the lowest they've been in 3 years.
Yeah, currently if we're looking at the 10-year treasury, which is what mortgage interest rates generally follow, we're hovering around 4%, which is great. And that's, like you described, the lowest in about 3 years. So I think if we get below that 4% for the treasury, I think that's going to be a good opportunity for a lot of buyers to get back into the market who have been sitting on the sidelines. But again, right, like once interest rates drop, there's going to be a lot more competition. So just kind of keep that in mind.
No, and that's very true. And usually when we see those interest rate drops, the house prices go up as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's something to keep in mind. Don't sit on the sidelines too long, buyers.
But a more balanced market allows you to do your due diligence, allows the realtor to do their job, which is show you, more inventory, allows you to negotiate. Those are all great tactics, I would imagine, for you.
Yeah, so we can ask for longer inspection times, actually do an inspection. Buyers can ask for seller concessions now to help cover some of those closing costs on the front end. But it's still a good time for sellers too. Sellers are still able to make so much money depending on when they bought. Obviously, if they bought 10 years ago, I mean, house prices have quadrupled in 10 years in our area. So a lot of equity for sellers, good time for buyers. So I would say it's a strong market overall.
For buyers, yeah.
Yeah. So overall, Treasure Coast, if you're thinking about Florida, if you're thinking about relocating, definitely check us out. Indian River, St. Lucie, Martin County, there's something for everybody. Fairly affordable compared to the median price nationally. What did we say? 10.5% less.
Yep.
Which is awesome. We are on the coast. We are a safe community. And we have some stuff coming that's really going to make us a prolific area, a hub.
And as a longtime Treasure Coast resident, no better person to show buyers and get yourself in the right home for you at the right time.
Absolutely.
So that was the beginning of the process, Katie Urban, and on the brokerage realty side. Now I'm going to move to the middle part of the process and turn it over to the math guy in the room, Will Shue from Evolution Mortgage, to talk about lending.
Yeah. Thanks for the introduction, Jonathan. Like you said, my name is Will Shue with Evolution Mortgage. And, some of you that are tuning in, you might already have a home, so this might be a refresher. But for those of you that might be buying your first home, right, we'll kind of just go over the basics of, what's actually involved in, hey, what do I qualify for, right? So here are kind of the 4 major things that we look at. So we'll obviously look at your income, how much money you make, your liabilities, your credit score, which directly affects the interest rate that we can offer you, and assets, right? We need to know that you have enough closing costs, enough money for closing costs or down payment. And then, what types of loans there are, right? So we've got conventional, we've got VA, we've got FHA as well. There's also other ones, but we'll kind of just focus on these 3 basic ones. And just keep in mind, out of the different types of loan products there are, your primary residence loans are going to be the ones that give you the best interest rate. Therefore, more affordable, and even the down payment is less on those compared to investment or second homes, right? So if we're talking about how to qualify for a primary home, you either have to have a job here or if you already work remotely, then you've kind of got a shoe in the door, right? Theoretically, you can work from wherever. So you can move down here and qualify for a primary residence because your employment's not going to change. And again, that means you can get a cheaper, have a cheaper monthly payment because you're going to have a better interest rate.
That's good for everybody all around. Who doesn't like saving money?
Yeah.
Right. Makes sense. Primary alone, better credit.
All right. And, so how do we actually calculate what you qualify for? Part of that is going to be, what your monthly payment is going to be. And what does your monthly payment consist of? So we've got principal and interest, which is based off interest rate and the loan amount. And then we've got taxes. So specifically for St. Lucie County, right? We're very honest with you guys. St. Lucie County has one of the highest millage rates in Florida. It hurts my heart, to be honest, because, I lived in Savannah. My property taxes were probably a third of what I pay here. But it is one of the highest in Florida. And then obviously, you can see geographically, we're on the East Coast and Florida's known for hurricanes. So because of that, right, insurance is comparatively higher than other locations. And then if you choose to buy in an HOA location, then HOA is going to be part of your monthly payment as well.
So while we're on the topic of HOAs, HOA, yay or nay?
I am a nay, personally, simply because I don't like being told, what type of fence, how high, what color I can paint the outside of my house, etc. So I like to be able to do my own thing. I think there's value in certain locations for HOA, certain cases, right? Like, I appreciate that in HOA locations, there isn't one house that's a certain color and another one that's pink.
Right.
I have a pink house neighbor down the street, and it's not.
Not a fan.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
It's not me.
It's not me. That's not my style. That's not my vibe.
Yeah, I would say from a resale standpoint, single-family homes always have a bit of a premium to condominiums. That said, I think it's a lifestyle preference. If you want a master insurance policy, if you like common areas, if you want maintenance taken care of, the condominium HOA obviously, might fit you. But I think from a resale standpoint, single-family home, bespoke home, scattered lots, you're adding your specifications. It is a unique property to the extent you get homogeneous things, cookie cutter things. That's a bad word, but repetitive things. I think you get lower values. So.
Yeah, and I definitely think that's an individual preference for sure. Like my mom loves HOAs because she does like that more uniform look.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't want a neighbor with a pink house or a school bus in the front yard, which I did have a neighbor with a school bus for quite a while. But yeah, me personally, I'm a nay on the HOA.
Yeah. 2 nays.
Right.
2 nays for sure.
Two, an A on HOA.
Nay on the HOA.
From slide 9, you got some math here.
Yeah, we got some math going on, a lot of numbers. The big takeaway from this, right, if we're talking purely conventional, what the underwriter wants to see is that your total debts, right, which includes your estimated monthly payment, is no more than 49 to 50% of your monthly income. Now, granted, that's just a rule of thumb, and not everybody has, like in this case, for a $350K home, not everybody has only $1K of debt, right? So it's all very individualized. So, if you're curious if you can qualify for a specific price point or whatever, I'd be the one to do the math for you. This is just an example.
This is super important.
Yeah.
Pre-qualification versus pre-approval.
Yeah. So a lot of times I get a lot of phone calls saying, hey, I want to get pre-qualified or pre-approved, or I've already been pre-qualified or pre-approved by somebody. And then I follow up with, did they ask you for documents? And they're like, no. And then I'm like, no, you don't have a pre-approval. You have a liability. Okay. That's not, they're kind of just sending you out to hunt with no guidance. Right. So there's a difference, right? So pre-qual is when, Jonathan gives me a ring and says, hey, I make this much money per month. This is my debts. And I say, great. I trust you. Here's your magic number. Go look, right? No verification whatsoever. Then we've got pre-approval, which is where I actually ask Jonathan, give me your tax docs, your pay stubs, bank statements, and we actually verify everything, right? The difference between the two is, when you present an offer, right? Katie, correct me if I'm wrong. When you present an offer to a seller or a listing agent, and it comes with either a pre-qual letter or a pre-approval. The pre-approval letter just provides instant, substance and support for what they're actually offering. Whereas a pre-qual, if a good listing agent knows the difference, they're going to just scoff or not even look at your offer. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're in a competitive price point or looking at a particularly desirable home and you have a pre-qual, like, forget about it. I mean, a good listing agent will call the lender and be like, so what are we looking at? Like, did you actually look at docs? Did you actually look at income? But there are people that might not even waste their time. And now you've just lost out on that house because you didn't sit down with your lender and do the due diligence beforehand.
So do the work, get a pre-approval.
Pre-approval.
Cut to the chase. No fluff.
Yeah.
Let's look at the numbers.
Absolutely. And again, that just makes it better for everybody, right? You have a clear idea of what you can afford. And you don't waste Katie's time or your time looking at houses.
Don't waste
her time.
Anybody's time.
Waste Will's time.
Waste my time.
Make him waste it up front.
Yeah.
There
we go.
Pay me now, pay me later. He's got to do it anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. So kind of this next slide, a lot of numbers going on. The big takeaway from this is there's the common myth, right? Hey, I need 20% down to buy a house. That's very, very old information. Not true at all, right? So depending on the loan product, you could do as little as 0 down, or you could do as little as 5% down for, a conventional loan. So bottom line is you don't need 20%.
What about PMI?
Yeah, PMI. So specifically for PMI, that stands for private mortgage insurance, which is pretty much used synonymously for FHA and conventional if you do less than 20%. That's something that you have to factor in as part of your monthly payment. So if you do less than 20% on either of those, you have mortgage insurance and therefore your monthly payment is higher.
Okay.
Once you hit 20% though, equity, specifically for conventional, that PMI will fall off. You have to request it, but at 22%, theoretically, it automatically falls off. FHA though, right? Although your monthly payment starts off lower, you're going to have PMI on there for the rest of the loan, even if you hit 20%. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. So closing costs, right? You got to keep that in mind as well, right? When we talked about looking at assets, that's what we're trying to see is if you can afford to pay the closing costs. Now, if you can't, right, this is when your all-star realtor, Katie, is going to come in. And like she described earlier, it's a good market to do it now, is to negotiate for seller concessions. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and certainly now compared to the last 5 or 6 years, ask the seller to contribute, $5,000-$10,000 toward your closing costs. So keep some money in your pocket.
Yeah.
And now you can go and, buy that nice couch that you've been buying or spruce up the paint a little bit.
After closing.
After closing.
You're going to talk about that.
Which we will get to that.
Yes.
We will circle back to that.
We will
after.
Yes.
After.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And there are some, costs that you got to budget for up front, like your private home inspection, maybe septic, termite, and appraisal.
Always get an inspection.
Always get the inspection. Do it.
Inspection.
And here we go.
This
what
is your slide. I
not
love
to
this.
Yes. I've actually, we put this on here because people have done it. All right. We're not just making this up. People have actually done this.
From experience, absolutely.
From experience, yeah. So, like we talked about furniture, don't open a new credit card because you want to pick out that perfect couch that you saw at Rooms To Go that's going to match your living room.
But it's 6 years, no interest.
Oh, I love that for you after closing though. You can do that after.
All right.
And if you're upgrading a home, that's awesome. Don't upgrade your car at the same time. Please don't do that. If you have a good job, don't change it. Even if you don't, but we're qualifying you and you can afford the house you're trying to buy, don't change it. All right. We need you to stick with the job that you have. And then if you've got large chunks of cash, like $20K under your mattress, please don't deposit it. All right. We can't use it if there's no way to source it.
So what do I do with it? I can't move it with me.
You know what? Instead of opening a credit card, use that to buy the furniture after. You know what? We can use it for something, but not during the loan process, please. Save everybody heartache, okay?
Got it.
And obviously keep paying your bills and debts on time.
Okay, interesting time series here on slide 13.
Yeah, and don't get scared, guys, of the chart. There's a lot of numbers going on here. The big takeaway from this is the news does a really good job at convincing people that when the Fed cuts rates, right? When the federal funds rate is cut, big name Jerome Powell out there, every time he's on the news and they say that he cut the rates or he held them, that does not mean mortgage interest rates, right? To be very, very clear, they're two separate things. Now, granted, the federal funds rate does impact, it is a variable that impacts mortgage interest rates. It's not a direct correlation. Mortgage interest rates more so follow the 10-year treasury, right? And that's exactly what this graph generally shows is if the 10-year treasury drops, typically mortgage interest rates drop as well. That's generally the trend. And that's why I referenced earlier, you know, Katie, you asked about rates being at a 3-year low. You know, the federal funds rate is different, and the 10-year treasury is hovering about 4%. So if we see that drop below 4, I think it's going to be a good opportunity again for people to get back into the market. Mortgage interest rates should theoretically drop, and we'll have a healthier market. The federal funds rate focuses primarily on short-term loans between financial institutions. Yeah, overnight stuff, 24 hours.
That's good to know.
So if the treasury goes below 4, we could see mortgage rates below 6?
Generally, for conventional, yeah.
Right.
Obviously, there's some, we got insert assumptions, all that stuff, but yes, generally.
Right.
That's what we can assume.
Okay, awesome content there from Will Shue of Evolution Mortgage. I will close this out here, the title company, and we're the people that you sort of don't want to see because it means we were asking you for something. But a good title company is very important because at the end of the process, after Katie has found you a great home, after Will has got you funding, the title company is basically clearing title, which means ensuring that you have 100% vested interest from the seller and that you're getting a property with no balances. So first thing in the Relo Downlow, I think, which is important to understand, is Florida is a title state. What that means is title agencies can conduct your closing. In the Northeast, Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, it's an attorney state. A lawyer or an attorney has to be involved in the closings. So what does this mean? Well, I would say title companies are two things, likely faster and cheaper. Attorneys, by definition, have a bigger suite of services. They can run litigation practices. They can be involved in family law, other items, and real estate can be sort of one of their services. But a title company only does real estate.
Right.
So we're very fast. We're a little bit cheaper, and Florida's a title state. So there's many great title companies. Liberty Title here, 2 offices here on the Treasure Coast. We've been around for 20 years. I'm biased. I think we're a great company. But other things, no matter if the seller is paying for title, the buyer will always pay for the lender's policy and associated lender costs. The lender will always want a title insurance policy to insure their loan, which means the smart math guys are getting title insurance. You should always get title insurance. The owner should always get a policy. We'll talk about costs very quickly here soon. So how much does title insurance cost? On page 15 here, I just say let's just do a simple formula, about 1% of the transaction. So here we've got a $350,000 transaction, a sales price. The seller who's paying for title is going to pay just under $3,000. So that breaks out in a few line items of fees, but about 1% is what you should budget for title. I think that's a nice sort of exquisite formula.
So, Jonathan, does the seller always pay for title?
Yeah, so it's very regionally based. In St. Lucie County, we're on the Treasure Coast here, the seller has traditionally paid for title. That's different even in a few counties south of here, Miami-Dade, the buyer has traditionally paid for title. So in Florida, it's sort of regionally specific. I always advocate that the seller should make the property marketable and provide clear title. Well, I want you to have assurance that you're getting 100% vested interest, and I'm giving you a property with no balances. So I think the seller should pay for title. But now, as Katie outlined, the market is more balanced. We've seen it negotiable. So I think, again, when Katie outlines negotiating tactics, if she's made sort of a very aggressive offer, like a lower priced offer, maybe she would advocate that her buyer client would pay for title because that sort of takes maybe 1% of the transaction off and maybe sweetens the offer a little bit. But again,
I like to advocate for whoever my client is.
Yeah.
Pay for title and use Liberty Title. So that way we can make sure everything's done.
If you have a
Properly,
great
appropriately.
closing partner, controlling title is important because some, as you know, some transactions don't get closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The
So
buck stops with you, sir.
yeah, right. No pressure. That leads us into why title insurance is important. Well, obviously, the first thing is we're talking about zero balances. We're prorating taxes. We're prorating HOA fees. We're making sure the existing mortgage is paid off. Little things like that. But you're getting the property clean and clear. Let's do that.
Yeah.
The legal and the insurance part of it is we're making sure for a one-time payment that the new buyer has 100% vested interest. So there's no unaccounted for errors, no mistakes in the public records, no other items of fraud. So we go back along the chain of title 30 years, make sure the property's been conveyed properly. So our underwriter has attorneys and examiners which do that. As the field agent, we're interpreting their findings and making sure we're getting the appropriate things signed off on. The insurance policy, the title insurance policy, lasts for as long as the insured owes the home. So can be 2 years, can be 30 years, could be passed down. As long as it's passed down, the policy is still good. Again, the sunny state of Florida, slide 17. So we talked about associations. About 45% of all homes in Florida are in associations. The average HOA fee is $389 a month. That's the average. So something else to consider, obviously the Northeast, not many associations. Florida, association state, let's say that. Again, Will talked about the price of insurance can be, considerably higher because of heat, humidity, thunderstorms. Katie is going to correct me on this slide, which is Florida has had over 120 hurricanes in the last 175 years, which is double the state of Texas. But you're going to talk about why we're a little bit more insulated here on the Treasure Coast.
Yes, as the native Floridian, native Treasure Coast resident. So I know a lot of people here, Florida, they think hurricanes. However, the Treasure Coast, what makes the Treasure Coast so great? If you look at us on the map, we curve in just very slightly. Okay, particularly like Port St. Lucie, Jensen Beach,
Yep.
we have a nice little curve. So what we traditionally see happen if we have hurricanes coming from the east is they like to wait until the last minute, but eventually they do the wobble. Okay. And they will actually sort of wobble around or away from us Matthew was a couple of years ago and we were supposed to be getting hit dead on.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in my house at a category 5, like, what am I doing? Why didn't I leave? And he wobbles.
Yeah.
And then we basically got tropical storm force winds. I mean, it was unpleasant, but then we had a nice little hurricane party and we may have lost electricity for about 12 hours and ate our snacks and watched our movies on our battery powered equipment, and life was good again. So we are unique here on the Treasure Coast where yes, there's hurricanes, but typically we don't get the full brunt.
I'd love to see the research. Extreme weather is everywhere in the country.
Yeah.
You talk about the
Blizzards.
extremities in New York for this winter, just the snowfall, and the extreme cold. So it's really everywhere. Obviously, we're on a different spectrum, more heat and
Pick your poison.
tropical.
Yeah, pick your poison.
Tropical outcomes. Okay, last thing. We earn our Sunshine State moniker again. 85 degrees today. It was another full day of sun. We have 240 days a year of full sun. That's the 4th in the nation behind Arizona, New Mexico, and the great state of Nevada, where I'm from.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Northern Nevada. Other financially related specifications in Florida, there's no individual state income tax. That's one of 9 states in the union, and no taxes on wages, retirement income, capital gains. So
Huge.
we're better credits down here in Florida.
There we
For
go.
you lending math.
Yeah.
Lastly, no state level property taxes. There's obviously local property tax, no state level property tax though. No estate or inheritance tax. And Florida has the biggest homestead protection for primary residences in the United States, basically unlimited.
Oh, wow.
So if a principal residence, if it's homesteaded, unlimited protection from creditors. So
That's nice.
that's also another thing for people that are concerned about someone knocking on the door and saying, this is mine. So Will, is it true that you skip the first 2 months of payments after closing as sort of a
misnomer? Yeah, that's a pretty common question that I get. To to kind of set the baseline, so whenever you make your mortgage payment, you're actually paying in arrears, and that means you're paying after you lived in it, right? So whether you close at the beginning of March or the end of March, your first payment is going to be May 1st, right? Now, you're essentially paying for it upfront at closing in the form of what we call prepaid interest, which is part of your closing costs. So if you close at the beginning of, March, it'll feel like you're skipping 2 months of payment because, you're not paying anything in March, although you did as closing costs. You're not paying anything in April. And so it'll feel like you're skipping 2 months. But if you close at the end, right, of March, it's going to only feel like you only skipped April, but your closing costs are going to be less, right? So it's kind of like
psychological.
It's a psychological thing, right? So it's, do you want to pay now or do you want to pay later, kind of thing. So no, right? It's not you just skip 2 months of payments. It just depends on what it feels like when you close.
So it's already baked into
It is
prepaid. You're not starting until 2 months after.
correct.
Okay. And then the pre-approval process, which you highlighted as being vitally important. When do you start that? If you, let's just say you want to buy in the summer, when do you start the pre-approval? Because obviously you don't want to do the process and then have to redo it.
Right, absolutely. So a lot of times people ask me, how long is the pre-approval good for? Really, the proper question is, how long is the credit pull good for, right? The pre-approval letter we can change instantly with the date and the expiration and everything like that. But with hard credit pulls, you have to close within 90 to 120 days, right? So what we typically do is we'll start with just a soft credit pull so that we can get to a 90-95% solution and we can get your budget going. And the reason why we say start it now is because you might think that your credit score on Credit Karma is 750 or something, but when we do our pull, we find that there's a bit of a disconnect and maybe it's lower than what you have and you've got some work to do. Or, your debt to income might be too high and we can advise, hey, if you pay off this specific debt, and again, that's not always the highest loan balance. If you pay off this debt, then, hey, we can eventually pre-approve you for this, right? And not everybody just has money to blow. So we like to tell you early, hey, budget to pay this off so that by the time you're ready to buy, you're good to go. So we need to set the plan in place now so that you're postured and ready to submit the offer with Katie when that one home pops up on the MLS and you're like, I need that one, right? So the time is now. Start the pre-approval now.
Awesome. Super helpful. Okay. Next question's coming in. Looks like for Katie, this person is saying we're moving to escape the traffic and high rises of Miami and New York. Is the Treasure Coast actually quiet or is it overdeveloped?
So that's really going to go back to a personal preference and like who you're talking to, right? So if you're talking to me, that's lived here since the early 90s. It does feel like there's a lot of development going on where, when I was a kid, there were more vacant lots than houses on a street. And now it's the reverse. So I would say coming from a place like a Miami, a Fort Lauderdale, or even up north, you are going to experience a much slower pace of living. But it also goes back to kind of what we talked about, right? That vibe check in which county. So St. Lucie County is the faster growing area. We have a larger population. We have more growth, more development. So it might feel a little bit closer to some of those metropolitan areas where Martin County and Indian River are a little bit more chill, slow pace. So that's
interesting. And then we've touched on this, but I think this is a great way to wrap this up. Again, we're hearing that Florida market is cooling down. Is now actually a safe time to buy, or should we wait for prices to drop more?
So I always say if you need to buy a house, buy a house.
Yeah.
You
either rent it or you own it, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're either paying your mortgage or you're paying your landlord's mortgage. And being able to build equity is a great wealth building tool. So trying to time the market, it's hindsight. Yeah. We're always looking real estate is always backward looking.
Right.
When I look at comps, I'm looking at what sold, not necessarily what's on the market. When he pulls information, he's looking at what's already happened rather than kind of projecting. So, honestly, it is a good time overall. And typically, as we see rates go down, prices go up.
Yeah.
And you can always refinance your rate. You can't change the purchase price. So if you pay $400 today, you know that it is what it is. That's your loan for the life of you owning the home. So I would say, you know, don't wait too long, because we saw people do that with COVID and then they got priced out of the market. So
Well, we talked about regional catalysts, new international airports coming through, high-speed trains making stops on the Treasure Coast.
right.
Again, lifestyle benefits,
Yeah.
you know, no state income tax, no state property tax, 240 days of sun. You know, this is our home. It's a great lifestyle. So I think we'll sort of wrap it up with that. So again, 3 professionals here on the Treasure Coast. We are here and available to see if the Florida lifestyle is for you. Again, we want to thank Katie Urban, the front end of the process, a realtor here at Link Real Estate here in Port St. Lucie. The middle part of the process, the math guy, Will Shue from Evolution Mortgage. And again, I'm Jonathan Casteleyn from Liberty Title. I'm flashing our contact information up here on the screen. I hope you found the Relo Downlow informative and interesting. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us anytime. We're more than happy to walk you through the process, and we hope to see you here in sunny Florida.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.